G'day, legends. Welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast. Going to go through some of the news topics that have sprung up over the last couple of days. Now, if you are part of the Roo crew, you're lucky enough to be watching this on Wednesday afternoon. Obviously, $8 per month, $2 a week. All the content in the world you could possibly want, a heap of additional stuff that you don't get on the podcast and on the YouTube, available in the Roo crew, a heap of interactive stuff, answering questions, whatnot. First dibs on merchandise. You get a bait to the end of season party, the Christmas party here at the CBA Centre of Excellence. An absolute stack going on in the Roo crew, not the Roo Clue. It's called the Roo crew, just to be really fucking clear with that. Very, very exciting. We've got a couple of things coming up this week too, guys. On Thursday night, we're going to be on the live stream of Hello Sport. We'll be there on YouTube doing a rugby league nerd out for the Broncos v South Sydney. And then Sunday afternoon, I'm going to be live on KO with my friends Tim Williams, Denham Kemp, and Hamisai Tabua Fido from the other betting agency is going to be joining us as well. So that's going to be good fun. We're going to have a couple of Origin players joining us. But let's get stuck into the news topics from today. Joining me is my 5'8". Kat, how are we?
I'm good, but you called Timmy a 5'8" this morning. You're really going to have to pick a 5'8" because we're not going to have this.
I'm a little bit like the West Tigers. I'm picking 6 or 7 and I'm going to rotate throughout the year.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
Whoever fits the jersey best will take home the 6 jersey. Kat, what news have we got today?
As Bud Sullivan on this team, that's what I'm aptly naming myself because there's a lot of potential here. We have a couple of re-signings we're going to talk about. So Isaac Tago and also Max King. And there's some interesting stuff happening with those guys.
Just for the record too, I'm Bud Sullivan. I'm playing halfback this week. And the 5'8", the rook over there is Lockie Galvin. You are Lockie Galvin on debut, Kat.
I thought I was more of a Bud.
Because I'll tell you what, the Guru listeners, they are not very forgiving, and I think they'll jump down your throat over that one.
Because I've named halfback, not a 5'8".
Just the smallest minor thing that doesn't matter in the slightest, they'll come for you. 'Tis the internet, isn't it, Kat?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, like, to be fair, I was talking more from a debutante, a new team. I'm exploring something new. I'm younger than Timmy, so it makes sense that I would be the younger of the choices. I don't know where I'm going with this. I think I've dug a hole for myself.
Are you younger than Timmy?
When's his birthday?
Oh, fuck if I know.
What kind of friend are you?
I don't know when his birthday is. I got no idea.
I think his birthday might be.
Oh, you're actually right. You're both the same age, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. So we're talking months or days of difference.
I reckon.
Are you really about to say that I'm older than Timmy?
No, you're actually younger. I'm pretty sure you are, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, we're going to confirm his.
This is we're getting so sidetracked.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the news stories from the last 2 days. Is the first one Isaac Tungo or Maxi King? What are we doing?
Let's do Isaac first.
Yeah.
So the 2-time premiership winner has signed a new 3-year deal, which will see the star remain at Penrith until the end of the 2028 season. Give us your thoughts.
I know what you're all thinking at home. You're about to jump down Cat's throat once again. He's a 3-time premiership winner. No, he's not. He's a 2-time premiership winner. Wasn't in the first one. Obviously came into the competition. I'll tell you what, Kat, you're lucky you weren't around for the preseason before Isaac Tungo came in, because my God, did I do a number on that poor bastard. I didn't stop talking about him for 6 months. It was insane. Came in and he's done incredibly well. He's been such an important part of that premiership, both those premierships that he's featured in. I've always been a huge Tungo fan. I think he's going to be a star for a long time in our game. I'll tell you what I find interesting with this situation, Kat, is that it was only 8 or 9 months ago that Stephen Crichton was on the market and Penrith weren't really making a play for him, realistically. They were sort of happy to see him go somewhere else to free up salary cap space. I find it very interesting that they're willing to lock Isaac Tungo up for a long period of time. All things considered, you got to, if I'm Stephen Crichton watching this one, I'm probably sitting at Canterbury going, I don't know about that. Like, they didn't really make a play for me. They didn't attempt to keep me there. So, and that's not taking anything away from Isaac Tungo, but it is very interesting that obviously they've identified, I don't know if it's just value with Isaac Tungo that they think they'll get more out of. I'm not too sure. Stephen Crichton had the potential to go somewhere else and play fullback to make more money. Maybe that played a role in it. Isaac Tungo looks like a genuine centre. You're probably not going to play him anywhere else other than back row, but that's not going to get you any more money. So, yeah, little interesting aspect to
You
this
don't
situation.
think that the re-signing could have anything to do with Stephen Crichton leaving as well?
It might do, but I mean, they knew they were going to have to make this decision with Isaac Tungo in the next 12 months. They didn't put a big emphasis on going after Stephen Crichton. So I just find it interesting. And look, if you're going to win premierships and be successful, you've got to make tough decisions. The Penrith Panthers have made plenty over the last years. I think we all forget that, they lost that grand final in 2020 Cats in the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah.
And their two most experienced players and the heart and soul of the club, James Tamu and Josh Mansell, both were shipped off within weeks of that occurring. So the Panthers have made plenty of hard decisions. Kickout, Appy, these sort of guys. Spencer Leniu's now left, obviously. They've made a lot of tough decisions. And it's just interesting to see how it plays out and who they choose to keep. Jerome Luai, obviously.
Yeah.
So, over the last year, they've had to make the decision, okay, Jerome Luai, Stephen Crichton, Isaac Tungo, these are all the guys. We can't keep them all. Which route are we going to go down? And, I would just love to get an insight to Ivan Cleary and what his thought process is and how he goes about this. I'm not saying he's made the wrong call. I just find it really interesting how they balance, because it's why teams aren't able to be successful over a long period of time outside Melbourne, because they were able to balance just everyone around the three best players in rugby league.
Yeah.
The Panthers, obviously Nath Cleary is a huge priority, but I just love to hear how Ivan Cleary is planning to build around it into the future. Yeah,
interesting. And what is their long-term plan, and who are their key players that they're building that team around?
Yeah, I do think, though, Isaac Tungo is going to be front and center of that. I've been a huge fan of him for a very, very long time. I think he's got a fantastic career ahead of him. He did come out at the end of last year and mention that he's something along the lines of not taking medical help, essentially, which... when you're a young man and whatnot, and he has had a few injuries over the last year or so, when you're a young guy and, your body's fresh and everything, you probably get away with it. But it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out, Kat, over the next 5 or 6 years. You're in the toughest arena in world sport, in my opinion. And the way that Isaac Tungo plays, he doesn't sit out in his wing and wait for the ball to come to him and not make tackles and just take it easy. He is tough as nails and goes at the game.
Definitely. I think relying on a more natural method with medication and the way that they heal after a game, it is definitely interesting to see how he's going to cope with that in the long term. But it's a good case study for everyone else, I guess.
And on that note, I won't put words in your mouth, Kat, but I also have no fucking idea what I'm talking about when it comes to that sort of stuff. Just an interesting observation from the outside looking in, especially in a competition like the NRL.
No, definitely. I think when you're technically being hit by a couple of cars every weekend,
that's what it's like. People will laugh, but that's generally what it's like. And we only see the 80 minutes every weekend. It's the, from talking to these guys, I hear it from all of them. It's the trainings during the week that really knock them around, because you've got to have that intensity 5 days a week.
Definitely. Anyway, we'll see how he goes. He looks great, and it's great news for him.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the next re-signing, which is Max King, who has agreed to a new deal with the Canterbury Bulldogs until the end of the 2027 season.
Before we get into that, isn't it just one of the great names of all time? Max King.
It's short, it's sweet, it's got a bit of gusto. It's a great name. It's
got a bit of Max Power to it, which I really like. Good little Simpsons reference there for you, strapping him for the G's. Maxi King. Kat, a couple of years ago, I was in a Supercoach draft grand final. This was probably 7 or 8 years ago now. I think it was 2016, 2017. And it was the last week. So when in my comp, Supercoach grand finals, the last week of the season. So what tends to happen is there tends to be a lot of guys rested, Kat, and you've got to sort of play the waiver wire and pick up a couple of young guys that are getting opportunities. And I never forget, I watched Max King play a couple of Queensland Cup games, and I thought, my God, this guy has got the biggest motor on him. He gets through so much work. And I just noticed that week, the Titans, they had a heap of players out or rested. I can't remember what the scenario was, but he was named in jersey 13. And I thought, you know what? I reckon this guy, I reckon if he gets an opportunity to play big minutes here, it's his first game. He's going to go absolutely berserk. And I remember in that grand final, I grabbed Max King. Anyway, I ended up losing. But they had a couple of injuries in that game. Max King played the entire 80 minutes. He scored 73 Supercoach points all in base. He was just an absolute maniac. And then probably 2 years later, sort of fell off the radar, but I kept track of him in Queensland Cup and whatnot. Then it came across my phone, came across my desk. Max King signed with the Melbourne Storm. And I just went, oh my God, this is it. This is perfect. A guy with an absolute stack of untapped potential going to the Melbourne Storm, he's going to kill it. He went down there, he did a preseason. He actually did the preseason with Branko Lee a couple of years ago. I had on the podcast, asked him about Max, said he was flying. I don't think he quite fit in with the culture down there at the Melbourne Storm. And I remember when he left Melbourne, I thought, okay, I had this guy all wrong. If he's not going to fit in at the Melbourne Storm, if they're not going to get the best out of him, I don't know if anyone's going to get the best out of him. He then arrived at the Canterbury Bulldogs, and there's not many guys that don't fit in at Melbourne that go somewhere else and are as successful as Max King. I genuinely think he's turned into one of the premier front rowers in the game. I know in that Canterbury pack, there's no other guys to compete with. People will tell me that he just looks good because he's the only one there. I just think he's a genuine, really tough front row forward. I think he's very handy. He's got a nice offload. He just ticks a lot of boxes that you want. And I wouldn't be surprised if over the next few years if he becomes a real sort of origin smoky. I reckon he's got that sort of potential. At the moment, though, Canterbury have got an elite starting front row forward who at the moment isn't playing rep football, so they're not having to pay him overs. He came there for an opportunity. They gave it to him. Value-wise, I don't know what sort of money he's getting here, but I'll tell you what, he would be one of the better value front row forwards in rugby league, I reckon. And maybe Canterbury have been put in a corner and had to pay him overs, but I probably doubt it. I think he's a pretty loyal guy, and I think he appreciates the opportunity he's been given. His life has definitely improved out of sight since arriving at Canterbury. He's now married, looks very happy, enjoying
Baby
his
on the
footy.
way.
Baby on the way. Yeah, congratulations to the Kings. Very, very exciting. So for Canterbury, I think this is a great re-signing. And you know what I love most about him, Kat?
What?
Just a good fella.
Yeah, and I was going to say this, and I know you made fun of me the last time I labelled someone a nice guy, but Max King 100% deserves the label of the nice guy.
He is a really nice guy, a very good fella. I always, the few times we've been out with Blue Wealth Property at Canterbury Bulldogs games, the way he interacts with fans and everything, he's exactly what you want at your club. There's not going to be any dramas. He's not going to make bonehead decisions. He's just going to do what needs to be done and do the right thing by all the fans. And I know that from being at those events and stuff and just seeing him in content with fans and everything, they just absolutely love him and they just appreciate him.
They do. And he's never at fault, really. I think there are a lot of scapegoats with that team, and there have been certain scapegoats over the years, but Max King is one player that I feel never gets the blame because, like you said, he always puts his body on the line. He makes good decisions. He works with what he's got. And at the end of the day, I think he is a really, really solid player, and he's a great extension for those guys.
The thing that I also love about Max King is he's one of those guys that even if he goes out and he plays a shocking game, it's not through a lack of effort. He is just all get up and go, Max King. And I think that's the reality of guys that have to go the long way round in rugby league, that he bumped around to the Titans for a few years, went down to Melbourne. I'm sure most guys that get that flight to Melbourne pack their bags and go, this is going to be a life changer for me. Within a year or two, he's packing his bags to leave and go to Canterbury, who are right at the bottom of the ladder. He must have been thinking, fuck, what have I done to deserve this? Yeah. But he's arrived at Canterbury. He's just fallen in love with the jersey, fallen in love with the club. Serrato and them seem to just love and adore him. Congratulations to him. It's an unreal little story of perseverance and just hanging in there and just going and getting the job done. Because I'll tell you what, I could throw a dart out the window at some of these junior grades and hit a front row forward that's probably born with more talent than Max King, but he's just got ticker. And that's what Canterbury's always been about. When Canterbury are at their best, they've got tough but good fellas in their forward pack. So Max King, I'm very excited for him. Congratulations to him, a good fella in our game. Now, Kat, before I let you go, there's one more news topic that I just want to sort of touch on. It's a little bit up in the air still at the moment, but your South Sydney Rabbitohs, they've had a fair whack of injuries this year, and it's gone from bad to worse since returning from Vegas. Jai Arrow could be ruled out for the entire 2024 season if his rotator cuff injury requires surgery. He will seek specialist opinion on whether his injury can be rehabbed or not. Now, I hope that I'm being hyperbolic, Kat, but I don't think the South Sydney Rabbitohs can win a premiership in 2024 without Jai Arrow. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I think he is that important to you guys. And I think that just about any team that loses a forward like Jai Arrow would really struggle to win a competition this year. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. And I think that's why the news is so devastating for the majority of us. We had obviously Campbell Graham, the injury right in the midst of preseason. We had Ty out. So he wasn't able to start the season regularly with us. And now we've got Jai Arrow, who, to your point, is so crucial to our side. We need his power at the front. I can't picture us performing at our best without him in that picture. And it's pretty devastating to think that even for him, as an individual, last year he missed a lot of games as well. Like, just to think that this is what he could be in for this season, it just sucks.
I think Jairo is one of those guys, and you mentioned he has missed a little bit of footy over the last few years here and there. I think he's one of those guys you realise the value of Jairo when he's not there.
Yeah.
And then if he does return from this injury over the next few weeks, you will see a huge uptick when he returns. I remember watching him at the Titans when he was a younger guy, and Kat, he was like a Supercoach juggernaut, like up there, because he was a big fish in a little pond and he was doing everything. And I remember South signed him, and I sort of thought, geez, I don't know about this. Like, is he just the only forward at the Titans and that makes him look good?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's one of my shittest takes of all time. It has turned out to be an absolute shocker. The guy is an absolute elite forward in our game. I say forward in our game because I'm still not convinced what he's better at, on the edge or in the middle. He can play both at a very high click, goes and plays State of Origin, absolutely fucking gives it to us in New South Wales. It fucking sucks. And I love that he's got a bit of larrikin about him as well.
Yeah.
Still, one of my favourite lines was after that Origin game. I think it was last year or the year before, and he's got the hat on and he's all over the place the morning after. And I think he says something like, well, you can tell I've had some fun, haven't I? Or something like that. It's just
he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy, and you can tell that he's a big part of that club culture as well. There's so much banter within the team, and they love calling out Jairo all the time, who, by the way, if we're going to say Max King has a great name, Jairo has a great name. I remember from the Rabbitohs Manly game in Vegas that there was some commentary around how good his name was. And I know because they were trying to kind of commentate for the American audience. And I think when they hear a name like Jairo, like, that's so cool.
Jairo does feel like a quarterback that would come out of a university somewhere and get drafted early. And yeah, it is a cool name. But
very cool.
Jairo, very, very good fella. And we do wish him all the best with his recovery. From, I'm obviously not a South fan, but from just a rugby league point of view, I want South to be at their best. And I don't think they can be at their best without Jairo. So fingers crossed he is okay, but a devastating injury there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once again, guys, if you are on the Root Crew, you can obviously tune into this 24 hours earlier than everyone else. You got that early access. If you're not in the Root Crew and you would like to join all the stuff we said at the start, you get early dibs on merchandise, you get to come to our events, you get content in there that no one else gets to see. You get all my tips, all my thoughts over the weekends from every game. I just absolutely word vomit everything I'm thinking from every game in there. They're obviously my priority messages to reply to. Supercoach stuff will be revealing my trades in there every Thursday and Friday. So an absolute stack of stuff in the Root Crew. The link for that is in the description below this podcast or YouTube, depending where you're watching. So go and join the Root Crew. Come and join us. $2 a week. Cheapest chips for what you get. And I guarantee you, go in there, sign up. If you don't like it after a week, hit the frog and toad. You can cash out whenever you would like. But I guarantee you, once you get in there, you will find an absolute stack of value in the Root Crew. Cheers, legends. We'll talk to you soon.